Okay, we're going to try this again because my battery keeps dying in my camera and it's really getting on my nerves. So we're going to do the kusari-gama video, the training version, on how to make it. I'm going to try and go as in-depth as I can without taking up too much time. I'll try and do a little explaining of some of the techniques that can be used when making any other tool, whether it's steel or plastic. A lot of this stuff can be used in both materials. But we're going to be making the kusari-gama, which is one of these, the oak dowel, and the rope that goes with it, with a monkey's fist knot on the end. So that's what we're going to be discussing. Materials. I'll go over the materials, the tools I'll discuss as I'm using them, and explain any alternatives that you can use to these tools. First thing you're going to need is a cutting board. And I got mine for $5 at the local grocery store. I'm sure you can get them at Walmart or anything like that. You can see I already used a big chunk of it, but you can still make some other things out of just one piece, so it's not very wasteful. I chose white just because that's what was there. You're also going to need a oak dowel, 1 inch around. That's what I use. You don't have to, but I use 1 inch. Here's a short piece that I'm going to be using and explaining. Costs about $5 at Lowe's or Home Depot. You get 3 feet of it, so you can make a lot of things out of it. Next, you're going to need a cleaner or degreaser, something that can take Sharpie off of this plastic cutting board. I use denatured alcohol, which you can get at Lowe's and Home Depot. But you can see with this alcohol, it just comes right off. So you're going to need something like that to get your Sharpie off your material. You're going to need a Sharpie, some duct tape. If you have any other type of duct tape, doesn't really matter what kind. Some 1/4 inch rope, some glue. I use Gorilla Glue. This stuff is awesome, it glues anything. Some cotton string, which you can also get at Lowe's. I've had this roll forever. I make a lot of things out of this. What's cool about the all cotton string is you can dye it any color you want by getting some fabric dye. And I got an example. This is my shogi that I made, and I dyed the cotton purple. So you can dye it any color you want. That's what's cool about the cotton. Some nails. You're gonna need 3 of them. Nails that I'll be using. Where are they at? I don't know what size these look. Maybe about 3/16. Any kind of round metal like this, you're gonna need. I say 3 of them just because you're gonna need 3 pins. Nails are pretty cheap, so 3 nails. And can't read that because the alcohol went on it, but some Scotch-Brite. You'll see this in one of my other videos that's coming out about lock picking. This really rounds off and smooths this plastic really nice. Gives you really nice edges. This is a training kunai, and it really makes these edges nice and smooth and round, and gets rid of any file marks or any cut marks. So that helps finish everything off. So in this kunai, I actually, you can see I could probably get a kunai out of this. I could probably even get a tesson, all depending on how I cut it out and how much I waste. So that's pretty much the supplies you're going to need. If I miss any of them, well, you'll see them as I use them. So let's get down to business. What I'm going to do is get my cutting board. I can't zoom out anymore. Got my cutting board. I need to put my design on here. Now, my rule is on a training weapon, I want the piece of plastic to go into this dowel at least my hand. So it's probably about 4 inches. So I'll take my square. Make sure you guys can see this. And I'm going to square up off this even edge. I'll draw a line for one side. Like that. And then I'm going to move over 1 inch the thickness of my dowel. So measure 1 inch. Make that line a little bit bigger. Like so. Then from there it's a quick measurement of 4 inches. About right there. Draw that by hand. That's about how much is going to be in my handle. And then from there it's all up to you. Making your design. Probably should have drew this over here, but you get the idea. Whatever your design wants to be. Here we'll do a kind of a funky comma because I don't have the room because I screwed up. As you can see, this video is not rehearsed at all. I'm doing this just as it comes. So, draw your design out. You know, of course, the more common design is this. But you got your design. And what you're going to want to do is, next you're going to want to cut this out. Now this is where some of the tools come in handy. If you have a bandsaw, great, you can just rip this right out. If you have a jigsaw, which I'm going to use, one of these, no problem, it cuts it good. If you don't have a saw, an additional way of doing this is with a drill, either a hand drill or a drill press. And what you'll do is you'll just drill holes all the way along the lines, going all the way around it, and then just start breaking off pieces, and you'll have to finish it up with some files or some smoother, some sander or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing here. Then I'll cut out the other pieces. toss the excess in my box of excess crap. And I'm going to finish cutting out those pieces. And it kind of heats it up, so sometimes you gotta break part of it off, because it is plastic, so it's not gonna, if it heats up, it's gonna melt. Get a pair of pliers, bust some of that off. So then you got your basic outline of what your kama is gonna be. Now from here is the part that's probably gonna take you the longest. It's cleaning up the edges, making everything smooth. And you can do that a couple ways. You can use files, and you've heard me talk about in my last video, the 100th video, the importance of files. You know, get as many as you can. You don't need to spend a lot of money on them, but files are very important. You can use a file, you can use a Dremel. Just don't spend too much time in one area, you're going to melt it. Or you can use a sander. I'm going to take you over to the sander. I'm going to try to, at least. Got all this stuff in the way. And I'm going to do a quick little deburring of this and smoothing out. When using a sander, you don't want to spend too much time on it, on one section, because you'll start to melt it like that. So you want to, real quick, and smooth it out. Now what I'll do is I'll come over here, and over here is where I'll take my files, and I'm going to grab a half round file, and right here is where I'm going to really finish off any of the melted pieces, any of the melted edges, any of the areas that the sander didn't get. Finish up the basic shape of it. And what's nice about this plastic is that it works really easy, so it's not like filing metal where you're going to be here for hours. Get the back of it. I'm even going to switch to a more coarse file. Really rip some of this off. So you can really see how it finishes itself up. Now from here, this is all your choice of how you're going to finish the edges. Zoom back out. There's a lot of different ways. You can buy deburring tools like this. You just put on the edge and drag it over, and it takes the sharp corner off. You can use a file, and you can round over all the edges. You want to make sure everything's nice and round. This front tip I'll probably knock off. You know, make everything round, make everything smooth. Like I said, this is a training weapon, so you want it to be safe. So, from there, with your cutout, this is where probably the most time-consuming part's going to come in, is taking your Scotch-Brite and just really going over every edge. And this really, can't see it too well because it's all white, but it really makes it smooth. I gotta do this to all these edges, but due to time constraints, I'm not gonna do all that. So, then I could take my alcohol or whatever and get rid of all this Sharpie so it all cleans up. And all that fun stuff. So from there, if this was all finished, the head of your kusari-gama would be done. So the next part is actually going to be your handle. Now this is, hopefully I have enough time because I can see the amount of time on this chip that I have is running out of memory. So what I'll do is I will actually make this 2 parts then, because I got about a minute left and I'm not gonna be able to get to all this. So I'll spend the rest of the time I got showing you how to round this off. Get my file and really get all these edges off. If it doesn't feel smooth, then it's not. Like I said, if you're going to be using this for training, you don't want any sharp edges. You want everything to be smooth. And when I make mine, as soon as I'm done doing an edge, I take it on the inside of my arm, I do this, and if it leaves any marks, you can see that edge of that is a little too sharp, leaving too much of a mark. So I want to round that over more, but first I'm going to come over here, take off that edge, or that tip. So the sander does help a lot. You really round that off. And I'll just go back with my file and take off all the melted parts. Smooth off some more edges. Nothing sharp, nothing pointy. One thing I found out while making some training weapons is that as I was making it, especially with points and stuff like that, as I was making them, I was thinking to myself, is that too pointy? And if I always thought to myself, hey, that's too pointy, or if I'm thinking that it is, it is. Take more of it off. Like I said, we're not making real weapons here. We're making just training ones. You know, mock weapons that look like what you're going to be using. I mean, you could have this thing rounded over huge. You can see how big the blunt nose on this is. I mean, that's pretty much the size of my finger. So if you think it's too sharp or it's too pointy, it probably is. So take more off. Make everything as safe as possible. Like I said, with a file and plastic, this stuff comes off extremely fast. And this Scotch-Brite just makes everything nice and smooth and clean. So, I know it looks like crap right now because of the design, but I screwed up with the marking it out on the cutting board. Didn't give me enough room. So, but in the next video, we're going to attach this to here, and I'll show you how to do that. And then once you're done attaching it, you're pretty much done. There's only one or two more steps, and that'll pretty much be it. So, I'm going to go recharge the camera, get a new chip, and then do part 2.